He called Jason Statham Hollywood soft. 5 seconds later, the bar's lights blew, the floor turned slick, and every phone in the room started filming the knockout that would crack open a criminal empire. The evening heat in downtown Austin clung to the skin like a damp cloth, yet crowds still bottlenecked outside Jukebox Alley, a neon-lit bar famous for underground fight nights. Local radio had whispered about a mystery celebrity challenger, and everyone assumed it was just another stunt to sell beer. Among the throng, 23-year-old Caleb Gearshift Brody, a self-styled street-fighting prodigy with Thor-sized arms and a temper to match, paced back and forth, rolling his tattooed shoulders as if the mere act of breathing bored him. When the bouncer finally waved Caleb through, he strutted past fans chanting his name, phone cameras bobbing overhead like lanterns. Inside, ring lights carved the smoke into silver ribbons, and the plywood stage at the room's center resembled a sacrificial platform more than a ring. Caleb climbed onto it, soaking in the roar. He raised a single finger to his lips, not to hush the crowd, but to silence any doubt that tonight belonged to him. At the bar, freelance sportswriter Megan Alvarez nursed a cherry cola and jotted shorthand notes. Caleb Brody, undefeated in 42 tavern bouts, record time to knock out 8 seconds. She was chasing a wider story, rumblings that someone was baiting Caleb into a high-profile humiliation, but she lacked a name. The promoter, rotund Ron Big Pop Watkins, had refused to reveal the opponent, only grinning like a carnival barker who just greased a crooked wheel. Something smelled off, and it wasn't the spilled Lone Star. On stage, Big Pop waddled to the mic. "Austin, you ready for a little shock therapy?" the crowd whooped. "Tonight, the one and only Gearshift Brody steps toe-to-toe with—" He paused, letting the tension spool. Caleb flashed a showboat grin and shadowboxed the air. When a single spotlight ignited at the room's rear exit, out of the glare strode Jason Statham, casual in jeans and a fitted charcoal jacket, hands in pockets as if strolling for coffee rather than combat. For 2 beats the audience froze, jaws slacked, then erupted into a tsunami of screams. Phones flew up like sailboats in a storm. Caleb's grin twitched. "That's the joke, movie man's gonna dance with me," he hollered, micless yet perfectly audible. He mimed a yawn. "Lemme autograph your cast afterward, Hollywood." Jason stopped mid-aisle, one eyebrow barely tilting. "You finish talking as slow as you fight." Laughter rippled, stinging Caleb's pride. He cracked his neck and barked at Big Pop, "Clock starts when he gets in here." But as Jason vaulted the stage rail with the ease of a parkour veteran, Caleb's bravado curdled into something brittle. Up close, the actor's calm felt radioactive, too controlled for mere theatrics. Big Pop signaled the house DJ, but the usual bass-dropping intro never came. A fuse had blown, plunging the club's audio into a hush broken only by the buzz of cheap fluorescence. Megan scribbled, "Power glitch," or "deliberate." She noticed Big Pop wiping sweat from his brow, not the showman's perspiration of excitement, but the nervous kind. The ref, a wiry ex-Marine named Darren Wick, stepped between the fighters and barked rules Caleb had never followed. Jason nodded once. Caleb spat onto the plywood. "Ready?" Darren pointed left. "Ready?" He pointed right. "Then fight." Caleb exploded forward, looping a right hook aimed to split a helmet. Jason slipped the punch by a paper's width, pivoting backside, and brushed his palm across Caleb's kidneys. No power, just mapping distance. A murmur flickered through the crowd. Why didn't he counter? Fueled by embarrassment, Caleb unleashed a wild overhand. Jason ducked, tapped the floor with his knuckles, and slid clear, forcing Caleb to eat air again. This pattern repeated, Caleb swinging sledgehammers, Jason ghosting millimeters away, each near miss inflating the tension like a lung ready to pop. More unsettling was Jason's silence. He didn't trash talk, didn't smirk. He studied, calculated. Minutes stretched, sweat haloed Caleb's buzz cut, but Jason breath steady, shoulders loose. Megan noticed Caleb's footing degrade, his left heel kept skittering outward. She jotted, "Shoelace, no stage polish, wait." That's when she saw Big Pop near the sound booth, frantically whispering into a walkie-talkie. A second later, a stagehand hurried over, scattering powder across one half of the ring, an excuse of extra grip. But it coated only Jason's zone. Caleb's side remained slick as ice. Megan's pulse spiked, their rigging traction to manipulate momentum, but to help which fighter, she decided to test fate, weaving through bodies toward the stage. Meanwhile, Caleb's punches slowed, telegraphing like Western Union telegrams. He roared, "Stand still, cue ball," and lunged for a clinch. Jason let him lock up, then murmured something only Caleb heard. Whatever it was made the street fighter's face contort with rage. He shoved Jason off, slipped on the glossed plywood, and pinwheeled, gifting Jason his back. Opportunity flashed like sheet lightning. Jason stepped in, coiled his hips, and delivered a short left elbow to the jaw, precise, controlled, surgical. A pop like breaking celery echoed, and Caleb's legs dissolved. Time slowed enough for Jason to catch him by the collar, preventing a skull-splitting fall, and lower him gently to the mat. Less knockout blow, more anesthesia. The referee waved frantically. Phones immortalized every angle. 600 digital eyes saw Caleb snoozing before his jeer even finished vibrating in the air. The crowd erupted, but Jason raised a finger for quiet. He crouched beside the unconscious fighter, checked his pulse, then mouthed something that cameras barely picked up. Not your fault. Paramedics scrambled up wooden steps. As they loaded Caleb onto a gurney, a hush of confusion replaced cheers. Jason stepped to center stage, requested the house lights, and asked for Megan by name. She'd slipped under the ropes, recorder clutched. "You've been investigating this operation, right?" he said into her mic. She blinked. "Why, yes." Jason's voice carried. "Then report it, every dirty angle. I'm done being bait." He tossed a folded envelope at Big Pop's feet. A hush rippled. Inside later were screenshots, emails from Big Pop arranging a fixed humiliation match for views, instructing stagehands to sabotage traction so Caleb would slip into a cinematic knockout. But Jason had outmaneuvered the setup, turning the con inside out. Before security could close in, Jason hopped the rail and vanished into the night, leaving a wake of questions. Why expose the scam when he'd already won? Why protect Caleb's dignity by cushioning the fall? And what exactly had he whispered that shattered the Street Fighter's swagger so completely? Outside, sirens converged, not police, but ambulances called by a mysterious private number. Some bystanders claimed they saw Jason guiding the first EMT truck through back alleys as if he knew the fastest route. Others swore they spotted him detouring down 6th Street, phone to ear, speaking Russian. Rumors multiplied like sparks. Was Jason running his own investigation? Was Caleb a pawn in something larger than viral clout? Megan, now swarmed by local news crews, clutched her recorder as if it were a live grenade. She replayed Jason's parting words, "Report it, every dirty angle." But when she rewound further, she caught a faint second sentence she'd almost missed. "Don't trust the man with the Texas flag cufflinks." She froze. Big Pop's cufflinks were miniature guitars, so who wore the Lone Star cufflinks? And why had Jason singled him out? Somewhere amidst the dispersing crowd, a tall figure in a tan blazer, Texas flags gleaming at his wrists, watched Megan from the shadows before melting away. Morning broke over Austin with a bruise-colored sky and headlines screaming about Jason Statham's shock cameo beatdown. Megan Alvarez barely noticed the viral chatter. She was already in the ICU waiting room, dictating notes into her recorder. Caleb Brody lay sedated behind tempered glass, jaw wired, ego shattered. The security camera in his room blinked red, hospital policy, but it felt more like surveillance. Across the corridor, a slim man in steel-rimmed glasses and a charcoal suit lounged with the posture of a house cat. Gold Texas flag cufflinks winked at his wrists. Megan's pulse spiked. She had found Jason's mystery warning. Summoning courage, she approached. "Excuse me, I'm covering last night's incident." The man's smile was silicone smooth. "Elias Cutter," he said, offering a hand. "Caleb's legal counsel, and for now yours if you keep poking around." His drawl dripped gentility while his eyes measured threat. Megan managed a polite nod, then retreated to the vending machines, heart hammering. As she fumbled for coins, a gentle voice whispered, "You're outmatched if you stand alone." It belonged to a scruffy tech in custodian coveralls, mid-30s, freckled, badge reading Landon Pierce Facilities. Before she could reply, he glided away, leaving a folded note wedged into the Dr. Pepper slot. "South loading dock, 9 p.m., come alone." By noon, Megan sat in her apartment, blueprint scrolling through public business registries. Big Pop's fight nights were bankrolled by Silver Spur Media, a shell company funneled through layers of holding firms, all traced back to a single silent partner, Elias Cutter. She jotted, "Cutter bankrolls rigged bouts, right arrow viral clips, right arrow ad revenue." But why target Caleb? Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A calm British accent. "It's Statham, you have an ally meeting you tonight. Trust him and don't use elevators." The call clicked dead. No caller ID. Megan felt the floor drop from under her. Why was Jason shepherding her investigation like a chess player moving pawns? Night draped the hospital in sodium yellow gloom. Sneaking to the south loading dock, Megan spotted Landon Pierce leaning against a supply truck smoking cloves. "You came," he said, stamping the cigarette. From his pocket he produced a flash drive decorated with a skull sticker. "I'm no janitor," he admitted. "I'm cybersecurity for Statham's production team. Name's really Landon, though." He explained Statham had taken covert gigs exposing illegal fight streaming rings. Cutter's empire wasn't about clout, it was laundering crypto and trafficking performance drugs through the fighters' contracts. Caleb was scouted as the perfect test subject for a new superstim called Valkyrie. Makes adrenaline look like chamomile, Landon said. Last night's sabotage was staged to bait Jason into a public knockout, generating massive clicks, and to stage Caleb's injury so doctors on Cutter's payroll could inject Valkyrie during recovery. Megan's stomach turned, so Caleb's in more danger now than in that ring. Landon nodded. I cloned Cutter's hard drive, everything on here formula specs, payoff ledgers, bribes. He pressed the flash drive into her palm. We leak this, Cutter burns, but they'll come for you first. Headlights cut the alley. A black Escalade rolled in Windows Obsidian. Landon hissed, run. They sprinted between laundry bins as doors flew open and two men in tailored suits fanned out, tasers drawn. One suit broad-shouldered, scar above his brow, spotted Megan. That's her, Alvarez. Megan and Landon ducked through a service stairwell, iron steps ringing underfoot, footfalls chased. On the third-floor landing, Landon wrenched open a maintenance hatch and shoved Megan into a narrow conduit. Keep low, there's a vent grate at the end, he whispered, then slammed the hatch and barreled back down the stairs to draw pursuit. Megan crawled in darkness, heart ricocheting. Behind her, muffled shouts echoed, followed by an electric crackle and a strangled cry. Landon, she bit her lip, forced herself forward until lamplight spilled through a ceiling vent. She pushed it open and clambered into the neonatal ward. Newborns slept in plexi cribs, oblivious. Nurses eyed her, startled. Megan flashed her press badge, mumbled wrong floor, and ducked out an emergency exit. She burst onto a fire escape overlooking 6th Street. Sirens wailed 2 blocks away, a helicopter's spotlight stitched the rooftops. Megan's phone vibrated, another unknown number. She answered, breathless. Jason again, they're jamming hospital cameras, but police dispatch isn't in on it. Get to rooftop level G, I'll extract you. Megan sprinted up rusted stairs. Reaching level G, she pushed onto a gravel roof where rotor wash whipped her hair. The helicopter hovered low, side door open. Jason leaned out, hand extended. She leaped, he hauled her inside. As the city shrank below, Jason checked her for injuries, then secured the cabin door. Landon, she asked, his jaw tight. He knew the odds. A silence like mourning filled the rotor thrum. Finally, he said, Cutter won't risk another public abduction. He'll accelerate the trial run. We have maybe 12 hours before Caleb's irreversible. Megan handed over the flash drive. Jason pocketed it. We need a broadcast platform no one can shut down. That's you. He tapped her recorder. Your reputation is clean, not mine. She swallowed. Why trust me? Because you stepped into that ring last night without flinching. He offered a thin smile. Courage recognizes its own. At dawn, they landed on the outskirts of town at an abandoned radio observatory Jason's team had converted into a safe house. Inside, equipment hummed, servers, dish antennas, and in the center a makeshift infirmary where Caleb, still unconscious, had been transferred by paramedics loyal to Statham. His vitals beeped steady, but an IV bag bore the label Experimental, VLK-3. A female medic, Dr. Naomi Grant, former NASA flight surgeon, explained, Cutter's men had already administered Valkyrie under the guise of regenerative hormones. Early scans showed microaneurysms blooming in Caleb's brain. Withdrawal was lethal. Full dose caused psychosis. We can stabilize him for 48 hours, she said, but we need the antidote protocol that's on Cutter's secure server. Landon's fate surfaced again. Jason's jaw flickered with regret. He built a backdoor into Cutter's network, Jason said. If he's alive, he'll trigger it at noon, one use only. We intercept the antidote, download, broadcast Cutter's files, save Caleb, and torch the Empire in one go. Megan realized the plan's razor edge. If Landon was dead, the backdoor might never open, leaving Caleb doomed. Worse, Cutter surely anticipated a data breach and would trace any leak straight to the observatory. Jason gathered the small team, Megan, Dr. Grant, and Tyrone T-Bone Willis, a hulking ex-Marine running perimeter security. He laid out roles with military precision. Megan would anchor a live stream using her credentials, Dr. Grant would prepare medical countermeasures, and T-Bone would ready the site for a siege. Before they dispersed, Jason produced 2 items, a sealed envelope addressed to Megan and a slim keycard. If things go sideways, open the envelope and follow the instructions. No sooner, he said. To T-Bone he handed the keycard. Unlocks my contingency cache. Outside, thunderheads gathered, though no storm had been forecast, a meteorological anomaly Jason chalked up to Texas weather. but Megan felt omen in the air, as if even the sky knew violence was coming. She retreated to a converted control room stacked with monitors. As she booted up the stream encoder, she caught her reflection, eyes ringed with fatigue yet blazing with resolve. Somewhere across Austin, Elias Cutter surely noticed the same dark clouds and wondered if they presaged his downfall. A chime sounded 12:00 p.m. on the main screen. Code scrolled Landon's backdoor alive, funneling terabytes of incriminating data. Relief swelled, he must have escaped. But then the feed hiccuped, freezing on a single frame, a warehouse interior. Landon bound to a chair, bruised, conscious. Behind him stood Cutter, smiling, a pistol pressed to Landon's temple. Cutter leaned toward the camera as if addressing Megan personally. "Broadcast this, reporter, and the janitor dies live." Cutter's voice oozed confidence. He tapped his watch. "You have 15 minutes to shut down or the world watches his head explode." The feed resumed, timer ticking crimson in the corner. Megan's throat tightened. Jason stormed in, saw the screen, and cursed under his breath. Dr. Grant appeared, whispering, "Caleb's pressure spiking, I need that antidote." Jason faced Megan. "Cutter just forced our hand. We either save one man on air and let a monster walk, or we expose everything and watch a friend die." His expression was carved stone. "Your call, Alvarez, you're the broadcast anchor." The timer ticked down, 14:32, 14:31. The crimson timer bled across every monitor in the observatory. 14:30, 14:29. Megan's pulse hammered so loudly she could barely hear Jason barking orders. Dr. Naomi Grant shouted vitals from Caleb's gurney, blood pressure climbing, pupils fluttering. 48 hours of stability had collapsed into a race neither body nor conscience was built to run. Jason slammed his fist on the console. "Cutter thinks we're trapped in a binary: sacrifice Landon or burn the leak. Let's make it a triangle." He keyed his satellite phone. "T-bone, front gate status. 2 SUVs armed. I can hold 'em 5 minutes tops." The line crackled with distant gunfire, T-bone's warning shots. Jason looked to Megan. "Can you deepfake a broadcast delay?" She swallowed. 30 seconds, maybe. Nothing you can hide a rescue behind. "Don't hide it." He retrieved the contingency keycard, slid it through a lockbox bolted to the floor. Inside, an innocuous palm-sized drone, black carbon fiber, 4 micro-rotors, and a hypodermic dart gun no bigger than a sewing needle. "Meet Harbinger," he said. "Range 2 miles, silent, guided by augmented reality visor." Megan pieced it together. "You're going to dose Cutter." "Not Cutter, his camera feed." Jason snapped the visor on, eyes flicking with HUD data. "The dart tip holds liquid mirror nanoparticles. One poke into the lens, the world sees whatever loop I feed it." 13 minutes, Naomi warned. "Caleb's system is tipping into vasospasm." Jason tossed Megan a flash drive. "Visual loops pre-rendered, drag and drop when I give the word." Outside, thunder cracked as SUVs screeched through the gate. Automatic fire rattled. T-Bone's voice grunted through comms, "Buying you time, boss." Jason jogged toward the roof door ladder. Megan grabbed his sleeve. "What if you miss?" "I don't," he offered a wry grin. "And if I do, open your envelope." He bolted up the ladder, vanishing into rain that had begun to lash sideways. Cutter's warehouse sat in the industrial hinterlands near the Colorado River, chain-link fences and sodium lamps throwing jaundiced halos. Inside, a semicircle of ring lights glared at Landon's bloodied face. Cutter paced behind him, pistol dangling like an accessory. 10 minutes, Ms. Alvarez, he purred into the camera. High above, rain clouds muffled rotor noise as Harbinger knifed through the storm, piloted by Jason's visor. He threaded the drone through a broken skylight and dipped behind rafters, 20 yards to the lens. Presenting a calm face for Cutter's henchmen, Jason maneuvered past swaying chains and stacked shipping crates. Back in the observatory, Naomi preloaded the antidote protocol into Caleb's IV pump. "We assume this cure works on humans," she muttered. "I've tested on nothing larger than rats." Caleb convulsed. She tightened restraints. "Hold on, kid." Megan dragged the loop file, an empty chair, Landon alone but breathing into the broadcast software, fingers hovering over execute. Timer 0859. Suddenly her phone vibrated, unknown number. She expected Jason's voice. Instead, Landon's strained whisper crackled. "Statham's caught in wind shear. Drone may not make shot. He says plan Gamma if fail." "Plan Gamma," Megan echoed. A wooden thud in the hallway answered her, the power brown, lights flickering, shadows marched on the walls, Cutter's ground team already inside. T-Bone stumbled into the control room, bleeding from a shoulder hit. They slipped past me, sorry. He braced the door, shotgun up. Naomi yelled, Caleb flatlining, alarm screeched. She jammed epinephrine into his chest. Jason's drone buffeted in crosswinds. Distance meter blinked red. 15 ME exhaled, sync breathing, then a gust slammed Harbinger into a rafter. A rotor snapped. The drone spiraled, clipping a hanging work light, smashing onto concrete with a metallic screech that echoed through the warehouse. Guards spun, guns raised, Cutter's head snapped up. Find that, he barked. Jason cursed, weapon lost. He scanned for any plan B, eyes falling on a narrow catwalk above the set. He began a silent sprint across beams slick with rainwater dripping through the roof. Observatory timer 0600 gunfire erupted outside the control room. Wall panels splintered. T-Bone fired back, pumping shells. Naomi compressed Caleb's chest, sweat pouring. Megan's breath hiccuped, pressure so thick she tasted metal. Her gaze fell on Jason's sealed envelope lying beside the keyboard. He had said, if things go sideways. She tore it open. Inside, a single Polaroid of Jason shaking hands with a laughing Landon outside a children's hospital, date stamped yesterday at noon. On the back, Jason's handwriting, you can't rescue a ghost. Landon died a year ago, trust the timestamp. Thunder boomed, yet inside Megan a different storm detonated. The warehouse feed, Landon bound, timer threatening, was pre-recorded. Cutter's entire leverage was smoke. Harbinger hadn't needed to live, the choice was always hers. She slammed the execute key. The loop replaced the live feed with Landon breathing steadily, the timer vanishing. Cutter's broadcast to the world now showed compliance, even as his own men still believed the hostage scenario real. Stream masked, she shouted. Naomi, elbow deep in CPR, yelled, antidote in 2 minutes. T-Bone reloaded, covering the door peppered with bullet holes. In the warehouse, Cutter's laptop display suddenly froze. The timer vanished, replaced with buffering static. He jabbed keys. What did you? Jason dropped from the catwalk, landing cat-silent behind the cameraman. One chop to the neck, man down. Jason seized the AR-15 slung on his back, toggled to semi-auto. Cutter spun, gun up, but Jason's shot winged the pistol away. Guards returned fire. Jason ducked behind crates, splinters cascading. Cutter lunged for Landon, really a battered stunt double named Ricky Marsh, paid to impersonate a janitor if Jason failed. Cutter yanked Ricky upright, knife to throat. Come out, Statham, or throat opens. Jason's comm beeped. Megan's voice, the feed's looped. World can't see him, he's bluffing. Relief surged. Jason stood, rifle lowered. Game over, Ilya's. Cop sirens wailed outside. Naomi had sent coordinates once the data dump auto-emailed every major newsroom. Cutter's empire collapsed in milliseconds, but Cutter's sneer didn't fade. You forget Valkyrie's side effect, Statham aggression. He jabbed a syringe into his own neck, thumbed the plunger, veins darkened like ink, his pupils dilated predator-wide. Jason cursed, backed away. Cutter flung Ricky aside and charged, smashing crates with steroidal fury. Jason sidestepped, cracked the buttstock against Cutter's jaw, wood shattered. Cutter barely flinched. He swung a haymaker. Jason rolled, wincing from the shockwave through the air. He needed leverage, literally. Spotting a forklift, Jason sprinted, climbed the cab, turned the ignition. Diesel coughed to life. Cutter barreled forward. Jason raised the forks as a shield, catching Cutter's charge. Metal rang. He jammed the lever, forks shot upward, hoisting Cutter by his arms. Suspended and flailing, Cutter snapped chains with supercharged muscles, dropping atop the forklift roof. Jason dove clear as Cutter crashed down, tipping the machine. Fuel leaked, sparks fizzing. Jason glimpsed the broken drone on the floor, the liquid mirror dart still intact beside it. He snatched the needle, pivoted as Cutter lunged. Rain hammered through the skylight, thunder shaking corrugated walls. Time slowed. Jason sidestepped, drove the dart into Cutter's carotid. Nanoparticles flashed silver, instantly hardening blood vessels. Cutter froze mid-roar, eyes glimmering mirror bright, body locking like a statue. He toppled with a crash, immobile. SWAT teams burst in. Jason raised hands, then pointed to the evidence crates. Officers poured over Cutter's frozen form, stunned. Back at the observatory, Naomi's monitor pinged green. Caleb's rhythm stabilized, pressure falling. She slumped in relief. T-Bone exhaled as Cutter's raiders surrendered outside, comms flaring with news of their boss's capture. Megan emailed the last tranche of files to every major outlet, headline chosen. Celebrity sting exposes fighting kingpin dosing fighters with illegal drug. She added a byline credit, co-reporting Landon Pierce in memoriam. Jason returned at dawn soaked and limping. Naomi stitched his forearm while T-Bone offered coffee. Caleb, awake but groggy, whispered thanks to Megan. On the observatory roof, sun bleeding gold over the hills, Jason handed Megan a fresh notebook. Story's yours now. She flipped it open. The first page held a single cryptic note. Look behind the mirror. Bewildered, she tilted the paper toward the rising light. Embedded microtext shimmered, revealing bank account numbers money Cutter had funneled from traffic contracts. With it, victims could be compensated, futures rebuilt. Megan laughed, a release of everything pent up. You planned every contingency. Jason shrugged, curiosity's a ladder, I just set the rungs. Thunder rumbled one last time far off, as if the storm itself were applauding. And in that hush between lightning and dawn, curiosity settled into justice, loose ends tied like perfect stitches, until someone somewhere tugged another thread.